Hello everyone, welcome back to Public Speaking Class. This is Bram Duffee, and I'm here with you on your second to last week of class. And here we'll be talking about an assignment where I will be asking you to do an interview presentation. And the interview presentation is a lot different than I think what we're normally used to. I'm excited to share all this stuff with you today. But first, I had a great experience today. I wanted to share with you that I got to be on a live podcast show called Hypnosis Hero. So you might want to check it out. It's pretty cool. I got to talk about my book and how we can use principles of hypnosis in healthcare, especially emergency medicine. And so that was like an hour and a half long experience. It was pretty cool. So, and just off of that experience, I'm bouncing on over here now with you. And the topic of today is a lot about careers and interviewing. And so when we think about careers and interviewing, I just want to mention that a lot of people end up in a place where they get desperate to find a job. And when you get desperate to find a job, you'll take anything. And then sometimes it can mean you get pigeonholed or stuck. And so, especially now that you're in school, this is your extreme planning mode time to figure out just, what it is that we're gearing you up to. And one of the things I like to be able to say in an interview is a really powerful statement. And I want you to think about it. The statement is, I have been preparing my whole life to do this job. It matches right with me in lots of different areas. I'd like to tell you how. See, being able to say something like that and be able to list all the reasons why, it is a really powerful thing, no matter what kind of job that you're interviewing for. But you can imagine someone like myself that my role as a paramedic, it's a lot easier for me to come at that with many different angles of why that's the perfect job for me and why why I'm perfect for that. But it's easy because I have done it for so many years. If you're on the front end of that experience and you're trying to get into the career, you don't necessarily need to talk about your direct experience. You can talk about the build-up experience and the different opportunities that have given you to reach for. So I just want to say that I think it's super important to know yourself. And so there's a couple of books I just want to mention during our time together. This is not any particular special book, but it's called Career Match. There's a lot of books like it, and if you go into most university libraries, you'll find books that help you figure out the best fit job for you. And also Career Services, I think, has an opportunity. If you contact them, they can help you with personality profile tests, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's something that you might check into. When I took my personality profile test back 25 years ago, the results of that are astonishing as far as how just accurate it ended up being for the match of the things that I like, I'm passionate about, and work for me. And sometimes we need something like that as a boost of confidence to know that we're going the right direction, And I wanted to start out with that mentionable. The other thing I want to mention is that when you get to a point for, for your career life interview job, it really should be at a time where you are standing on the strengths that you bring to the table. So sometimes in interviews, people stand on the what they could do, what they could offer, and so I think that there's a different kind of perspective there. So if you know who you are as far as especially what you're really good at, you can apply that to anything. And so one of the really awesome books that I would suggest that you get, it's an easy read if you just pick it up in the any library probably, right? And it's called Now Discover Your Strengths. And it's by Buckingham and Clifton, Now Discover Your Strengths. There's like a a whole testing thing you can find on the computer that accompanies this book, because it's been around for a long time, that can help you identify your strengths also. And what this book talks about is the importance of figuring out just what you're really good at so that you can capitalize on that. And being comfortable with the orientation of sharing what you're good at, in that respect, it also helps you with confidence, right? So now that I'm talking about all these books, I just have one more to share, okay, and then I'm done with books. But the book that's what I would say is a go-to book on how to find a job, especially when you're fresh out of college, is this book called Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters. Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters. I have a bunch of copies of this because I sometimes give them to students who are talking, who are in a position of trying to find a job and really needing that extra boost. And I remember getting a bunch of these off of the internet for used, like $3 each. And so I just got a bunch of them, and I appreciated it so much. That's why sometimes I just give them away. But I really think enough of that. And so this helps us think about finding a job from the traditional today perspective. And, a lot of times we could have expected that a job post is the best way to find a job, right? Look for a job post, apply for the job, and go through the process. But this book helps us think about how that might just be you spinning your wheels. And so being able to do a very direct approach and sometimes very aggressive is beneficial. So this is what I offer off as a suggestion, okay? So some of the things that I want to talk about are in the PowerPoint that I provided called Careers in Interviewing that you might be able to view during our time to talk together. If you can't view it during our time to talk, it's not a big deal. I just wanted you to know that I'm going to be talking from some of that. And to begin with, it is important to know what is important. And as I mentioned, knowing yourself and knowing what you want is a start to everything, because otherwise you don't seem confident and you don't have a direction that is that's solid. You don't have a place to jump to that's solid because you're willing to jump anywhere, right? And so you see the difference of how that seems when you come across. So it's important to make sure that you're going to match your interests and your skills to whatever job that was that you're looking to do, because otherwise you're not going to be happy there. So sometimes these interview opportunities are just ways for you to show why you're a good fit, to show that interviewer that yes, this is you, that you are what they're looking for. And if you can do that in a way so that you're matching your interests and skills and sharing what you're good at, you can do that in a much more genuine way. And being able to do that in a genuine way, and it shows that that rapport building and honesty and all that feel good stuff that can happen with them, that they also need to want to work with you. Because if I don't feel good in the room with you, it's less inviting to have you come on as a staff member there, right? So we do think about the presentation, and we know that we have to make a first good impression, and that first good impression happens within the first few seconds. And so going through the ritual of analyzing ourselves and how that presentation is going to come across is important to happen before the interview. Nathan Brueggemann put out an article that talks about 13 job interview mistakes to avoid. And I highlighted that by saying that there are just some things that we don't do. And so in case anybody's never told you before, there are some things that are just absolute no-nos when it comes to an interview. And I take these things seriously. If I am in a new place or going to a new place for the interview, I will drive there and park and walk to the building, find the room before the interview day. You know, these kinds of things, you know, mapping out your day, how much time we think it's going to take, and to, you know, and to make sure you can find the place, are so super important that that kind of preparation can definitely make the difference. Because as one of his top pillar mistakes to share is we don't arrive late. So we don't arrive late. We don't dress wrong. What does dress wrong mean? Dress wrong means that we need to be dressed appropriate for that interview. And so in most cases, the appropriateness for the interview is to be dressed at the level or a step above the level that the person that we're interviewing. So if we have a blue-collar job, then sometimes the environment might be such that people would see you as ridiculous for wearing a suit and tie, you know, because the job is a physical in nature, right? So maybe in that case, a polo type shirt would be best. But in general, we don't go wrong by dressing up. And so when I mention how to dress up to ladies, I say the way that I calibrate it would be that imagine the guy is in a suit. So what is that equivalent, you know, in your dress? Because I don't know how to dress up like a female, but this is the kind of thing that we look at, because the conservative approach is usually best. And I can't emphasize enough that we do moderate what we show off. So what that means is that a conservative approach is best. So that means that we're not going to be there to show off our muscles or our curves or anything like that. We want that interaction with that person to be directly like us and them, okay? If we have anything else, it's going to distract. So those distractions are not acceptable. We don't want any jewelry that's going to stand out and be crazy, because it's going to distract. We don't need a tie that's going to flashy and crazy. It's going to distract. We are going to have to be fine being boring in our appearance, because we want them to see us. We're on stage, and what comes across is in that moment is important. Okay, so the playing. So dressing wrong is one of the things that he mentions. The other thing is play zombie. So playing zombie means that you are someone that has stress written across your face. You answer questions directly and then don't elaborate. So it means that maybe the interviewer is going to have to dig the answers out of you. It means that you're not conversational. So being a zombie makes the person uncomfortable. So it's not okay, right? No smoking, no gum, no drinking. If you smoke cigarettes, my gosh, you know, Ozium is a friend of yours. So if you didn't know, so that can really be helpful. But also washing your hands, because we have to know that nowadays most people don't smoke. So it's very apparent when that smell is in the room. So no gum chewing, no drinking. We want to make sure that none of those things are going to be distractors. One of the things he also mentions is research failure, and that just means that it's the failure of you not checking out the company. You know, try to figure out if you know someone that works there that you can connect with to ask questions. Try to dig through their website, dig through social media, dig through to understand their processes and find out as much as you can. Not doing that is, of course, a mistake. You want to be able to articulate your strengths and weaknesses. And the other components that he mentions are winging the interview. Just winging the interview means that you don't have a mental preparation in place. One of the things that I like to do in preparation for an interview is I like to think of specific examples that I can share that show off different aspects or different things that have happened to me or things that I've dealt with or leadership situations I've been in. Because if I can walk in with a piece of paper that has that as a bullet point to help me kind of remember, then when I'm asked a hard question on the spot, I can look down and kind of remember, I have a list of stories or examples that I can share. So winging the interview means that I haven't done that. And also I haven't done the preparation. So we want to be able to show that we're prepared and also be able to come to them with things to share about ourselves. And in that kind of stress moment, sometimes it's helpful to really be able to have it in a, on a piece of paper to look down and remind ourselves. It's a mistake to overtalk. It's a mistake to not connect yourself to the job that's offered. And it's also a mistake to badmouth anybody, including, previous jobs. And it's a mistake to not ask about compensation. And it's a mistake not to ask for the job, to directly say that, I would like to work here. Please, hire me. And so it's all about selling yourself. And in that moment, being genuine is important. And sometimes because of the stress, being genuine is a difficult thing. But if you have reminders like this, like examples of stories that you could share of things that you've done, then it's easier to look down and have that. So there is a balance here in that conversation where we're not going to talk too much, but we are going to give enough, and we're always going to try to be genuine. And that's what's going to get us through. And so when we talk about, the initial mistakes to avoid when we dig into interviewing, we have to recognize that when we're interviewing in a public speaking kind of situation, it just amplifies everything because we have multiple people looking at us. And so in these kind of situations, I would consider a panel interview sometimes. I've had a panel interview of 6 people, of 8 people. That definitely feels like a public speaking situation because of how you have to present yourself to that group. And in that way, it's very similar to a room full of 30 or 40 people. So when I was an executive, one of the things that I did when I worked for the University of Phoenix was I was the director of admissions. And I worked to hire new admissions counselors. And when I did, one of the ways that I asked them to come in and be interviewed was to do a presentation for me. And I would say, that they should prepare about a 5-minute presentation. And the title of their presentation is Why They Are the Best Fit to Be an Admissions Advisor. And what that does is it sets them up to be able to connect themselves with the job and get up on stage and show off their personality and who they are and what they've got. And all the things that we talked about, the do nots and the do's and the guidelines to live by during this moment, again, are amplified in this public speaking kind of situation. But it helps us really learn the candidate. And some jobs are like this, especially at the executive level or sales level. You're asked to do this. If you're a teacher, you're also asked to do this, basically, because you're asked to give a lecture. So all of those kinds of things have to be taken into account. And so I want you to know that the way that we make this work is by inventorying ourselves, cross-reference that with the job, and make sure that we're able to be genuine. And again, one of my favorite ways to talk about this is to say, I've been preparing for this job my whole life. Let me tell you more about how that's played out. So if you don't get the job, whatever job it is, you have to know that there's a reality check there for you, because it is true that life's not fair. So even if you do a great job during the interview, you may not be selected, right? We also have to know that each time we go through these interview processes, we have an opportunity to get better, improve ourselves, and be ready for the next one. And just being able to realize that if you don't get the job, then you may have not known the events of things that have happened or are going on behind the scenes, because behind the scenes there's a whole different ball game. And so we don't always know what is best, and sometimes, gosh, you may have dodged a bullet, right? So before any kind of interview, we want to plan our time and don't be late. And I would say do things like make a dry run and make a map and think about what your appearance is going to look like, lay out your clothes. One time I was wanting to wear a particular suit, and the day of, I realized that my suit wasn't cleaned, and I thought it was, and it just meant that I had to, rush to fix a whole bunch of other, last minute kinds of things. So planning everything out, right down to your nails and your hair. We want to be generally neat and clean, but also be ready. And I know early on in the semester I talked about how in a public speaking situation, it's really, really beneficial if you can get into that classroom or get into that situation or on that podium and look at your audience and get a feel for them and take in the moment and maybe even practice. Well, that can maybe even happen for you in the interview. Think about how maybe you're an internal candidate and you work for a company, and because you're an internal candidate, you know what room you're going to be interviewed in. You know who's going to be interviewing you. So you can go to that room and stand there and pretend like you're talking to them in your mind or in your imagination and see them out there. So these kinds of things are so beneficial, y'all, because it gives you an opportunity to be fully prepared. When you walk through the door, you don't want to let them see you sweat, right? Even if you're nervous and you just want to run out the door. And having the inner voice that's positive, that says, hey, wouldn't they be lucky to get me? This is what helps. We want to shake hands firmly. We want to give that positive smile and an impression, even if it feels fake. I mean, you just need to do it. You need to make it happen. And it's important that we know that people are going to categorize us right away based on lots of different things, like the other people that they know that look like us or that dress like us or that act like us. And so it's just important that we're able to break through all of that and show them who we are. And so in your assignment for this week, I wanted to give you the opportunity to show off who you are by doing something that you might have an opportunity to do in real life someday, which is to run for a school board, basically. So let me read this assignment so we can talk about what you're going to be doing that's due on Thursday night, right? So in this assignment, you have the opportunity to step into the shoes of a school board member candidate. Your task is to create a 4 to 6 minute video where you answer the following question: why I'm the person you should select as school board member, right? So you're saying, you should select me as a school board member because, right? And so imagine that you're in a real election scenario and you're talking to real voters in your video. And so the primary focus of this assignment is really on professionalism and persuasiveness. So it's like how well you present your case and convince your audience. Now, I do have some guidelines for you to consider. So professionalism, dress appropriately, just like if you were addressing an actual electorate. So no hats, no items that are going to distract or obstruct part of your face or prevent your audience from seeing eye contact, all that stuff that you need to have as much genuine connection as possible, okay? So that's professionalism. For content, I think that you should discuss how your life experiences have prepared you for that role. So you could talk about your connections with family and friends, or your work history, school, your personal passion. Every aspect of your life can actually potentially contribute to how suitable you could be for that position, including the fact that you were a student there too, right? So the other thing is persuasiveness. I want you to aim to convince your audience without coming across as aggressive, okay? So just use facts, use personal stories, and express your vision there, okay, on how what a good compelling case is for why you would be a good board member. Now, this assignment is not just about listing qualifications, right? The thing is, you want to be demonstrating your understanding of the role, your commitment to what that responsibility entails, and what you're going to do for the people that you're going to serve. So when you look at the assignment, I want you to look at the rubric that's below the assignment instructions, and especially pay attention to the items that are underlined. The items that are underlined are the things that are graded most heavily. So begin your speech with an effective attention-getting device. And attention-getting, yes. So, hi, my name is Bram Duffee is not necessarily going to cut it, okay? You need something before or after that. And justifying your existence, projecting confidence, see some of those pieces that are underlined to help you as your speech develops. I really think that this kind of practice is super helpful for later times in life where you may not be in this kind of spot to be an elected official, but at the same time, you are probably going to be in a spot where people need to know you, get to know who you are. And a public speaking kind of opportunity is a stressful one unless we have been able to practice some of the ways to get through this. And so I look forward to seeing your speeches, and I look forward to working with you as we get through closer to the end of the term. Thanks, y'all.